Good day, it's Tony Fortunato from the Technology Firm. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about pros and cons with packet slicing, and this is becoming more and more of a concern for protocol analysts because the networks are only getting faster, which means you're capturing more data. Let's jump right into it. So packet slicing, what is it? Well, when a frame's received, you got to figure out if you want the whole frame. You really have to be careful because not all capture tools, and don't forget you can capture packets on some routers and switches now and wireless access points and all those kind of things. They may have a default packet slice within it. Even Microsoft's packet capture utility that you get with Windows 10 and 11, you have to be careful because it will slice by default. So if you wanted the whole packet, you're in trouble already. So just be aware is what I'm saying. So saving a portion of the frame header will require less storage. That's a good thing if that's what your goal is. But if you want the MAC, the IP address, TCP/UDP, and a bit of the application layer, 128 bytes is a good starting point. It's a good reference, right? It'll get you in here. So in some cases, you'll see the command, if it's clear text, like select and that kind of stuff. But if you really need to know what that offset is and you don't want 128, I've got lots of videos out there that will actually show you how to calculate that. So packet slicing, why? Why? Well, packet slicing is a very valuable technique to keep in mind. And here's some examples and reasons when to consider slicing. Well, one, the data is not useful. It's not readable. It's encrypted, so you can't read it anyway, so why are you saving it? To conserve disk space or reduce your trace file size. Now, this is also an issue when you want to send people trace files or upload files. Obviously, the bigger the file, the longer it's going to take, all that kind of stuff, right? So reducing trace file sizes is still a bit of a concern. To increase capture time when you have limited disk space. So for example, you might have, 16 gigs, right? And that might fill up in 5 minutes. But if you packet slice, that may last you 30 minutes, that kind of thing. Legal issues around capturing the data/payload of packets. Sometimes, depending on where you work and what you're doing, there may actually be some precedents at work where people say, hey, you can never capture the entire packet. I don't care if it is encrypted. I just don't want you with that data. You can only capture, again, the first 128 bytes. Please be careful and find out and be aware of any kind of legal issues where you are at work. If you work at a bank, if you work at law enforcement, accounting firms, legal firms, they all usually are aware of packet captures, packet intercepts, and they will tell you what you can and can't do. It also reduces the load on your capture device. So some packet capture tools are less likely to draw packets when packets are sliced. I strongly encourage you to figure out if your laptop, if your packet capture tool will drop packets. If it is a specific packet capture tool appliance and that's all it does, it's probably good. But if you're using your laptop, your desktop, whatever, you might want to just test that out. So here's an example, packet slicing and the capture impact. So I got a 390 byte frame. I sent 100,000 frames to my laptop with 45% load. So I'm not going nuts here, right? The key here is the packet size. So the smaller the packet, the more you can jam on the wire. The more on the wire, that means your laptop has to stop, interrupt, and process that packet. That's why people have problems. So the average is calculated by dropping the high, low, and averaging the remaining three values. And here's what I got. This is my laptop. Like it's an Alienware. So a full-size packet, I sent 100,000 and I got 97,574. That was the average. 128 byte slice. So I'm not capturing the entire packet. All of a sudden, look at that. See that? So now I know if I need to capture packets and I don't need the payload, I should slice my packets. And that way it's less likely that I will drop that packet. Before we continue, let me just show you in Wireshark, Control K brings up capture options. And you can see right here, 128 byte packet slice. And that's where it is in Wireshark. And here's the help screen from Microsoft's PKTmon or PacketMon. And if you take a look here, it says packet size and it says the bytes for each packet. And the default is 128 bytes. And there you go. And lastly, here is a packet broker from Network Critical called SMARTNA XL. And you can see here it says slicing for C egress and D egress. In this example, they're both set for 128, but just pay attention because if you take a look up here, D, does not have a green icon, so there's nothing there. So this isn't going to do anything anyways. So just make sure you pay attention to all the devices you have out there that you can capture packets with. Try to understand if they have a default slice, and try to make sure you figure out how to change that. Wireshark slicing. So Wireshark slicing, if you are going to use Wireshark and you do decide to slice your packets, it's in your capture options. You'll see it in the header here. It'll actually tell you those 1514 bytes on the wire, and it says 128 bytes was captured. Wireshark will tell you that, all right? So that's a good thing. Even though it displays the full length here, 1514, because it knows it was 1514, it knows you decided to only capture the first 128 bytes, so it tells you all that good information. That's good to know. Now, if you are going to slice, I'm using a network critical SMARTNA box here. I'm going to slice at 128. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because you're going to see it's slightly different when you look at it in Wireshark. So in Wireshark, you'll actually see the frame size is 124 because it doesn't know that the packet was 1514. And this screenshot's kind of cool because what I did was I started capturing, and then I went to the box and I turned on slicing, and all of a sudden you could see my 1514s all dropped to 124s. And if I look at the header, there's no mention to 1514. They all say 124. So if you do decide to packet slice on an appliance or whatever it is, a tap, before it gets to Wireshark on your laptop, put a note. So in Wireshark, you could do a file note for the actual file, like a comment, and that will help you a lot. So if you look at this later on in life, you'll know why the packets are all 124. You can also incorporate that in the file name when you save it. So I don't know, saved VoIP conversation, sliced 124 bytes, something like that. So that way the next guy who looks at it won't get all confused. Lastly, so here's a packet slicing comparison. So I ran a 1-minute trace on this link. It has a whole ton of stuff going through it, so it's pretty consistent. And you can see within a minute, it was 110,000, 110,000, 112,000. It was pretty close, right? The bytes are totally different. So with the full-size packet, we got 104 meg. If I drop it to 512, that's a popular size people like to use, it drops to 41 meg. And if I drop it to 128, which is always my go-to size when I slice or start slicing, it's only 15 meg. So as you can see, by packet slicing, you reduce the total size of that trace file. There you go, folks. Hope you found that interesting. Have a good day. Bye for now.